All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the not official Camunda Champions Podcast. My name is Max Young. I am the CEO of Capital BPM. We're a platinum Camunda partner. I'm here with some of my friends. Maria, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Max. I'm Maria. I work at the IBA Group as a product manager, business analyst. I'm also Camunda Champion, and during my work activity, I work closely with customers across different industries and helping them design, optimize, and modernize their processes using Camunda. Thies, could you please continue?
Hello everyone, I'm Thies. I work as a consultant for Group 9 in the Netherlands on anything process related, from architecture to process modeling to process orchestration with tools like Camunda.
Very cool.
Yeah, let's go, Max. Let's zoom in on something.
Okay, so Thies, one of the things that you and I were just talking about recently was the idea of how do you bring an organization that is maybe not doing any sort of process orchestration. How do you get them to start when they're interested in agentic orchestration, right? What are do you just throw them in the middle of the ocean and say, hey, move your arms and good luck and watch out for sharks? Do you start them at a kiddie pool and kind of work your way up? Is there something in between? Of course, I have an opinion because I have an opinion on everything, but I'm actually curious to know what is your instinct and what do you think is the right way for an organization that is seeing the potential for agentic, and how do they start without losing themselves in the ocean of possibility?
I think the approach is pretty similar to an organization that's already, let's say, tried out orchestration. Maybe they're matured quite a bit already, and they now want to make this as a natural step into agentic. The first question is, where is the value add? Where are you going to find some value? Whether it's from automation or just task coordination in the first place for manual work, or at the next level looking at agentic orchestration. And if there's something there which is valuable enough to them in one of the core processes where it matters, that's the one to pick. Something that's easy enough to not to bring in all the complexity at once, especially if it's related to all kinds of systems around the process engine. But find a use case where you have value and where there's opportunity to get things done, to just get things rolling and then see the effect and then take it from there step by step.
Maria,
that would be my first take on that.
Maria, I want to double click on that and kind of use your expertise. When we talk about value, can you help us be a little more tactical? Are we talking about value in terms of time, money, consistency, automation? What do you normally, when you're thinking about value, how do you normally advise your customers to sort of decompose so that it becomes something real and not an abstraction?
So first of all, when we created the process, design the process using Camunda, we show for all participants of the process where they can start, where they finalize their responsibilities, right? And it's understandable for all members of process. I mean, business users and IT users, they understand fully overall the process. More of them, for business, is very important to see how works their process, where they have some bottlenecks, how they can optimize their processes. And so related to the current trends related to AI, so everyone wants AI, and but the users, the business users, not completely understand where the AI can bring the biggest value for their processes. So thinking about it, we need to ask to the questions: do you have in your processes, for example, some unstructured data where AI agents can bring this value, or you just or for your process just enough daemon table, I don't know. So
So what you're saying is you help them sort of observe what's happening. And then once they have observation of what's happening, then you say, here's where you're losing money. Here's where you're losing time. Here's where you're retrying. Here's where you're inconsistent. And then that goes into the value proposition. That makes sense to me. The thing that I sort of struggle with is I always think about it from the point of view of craftsmanship, right? So I think about how would I teach someone to do carpentry, or how would I teach someone to do electrical wiring, right? Like, how do you build that skill? I wouldn't just throw them into like into a fully manufactured place and say, here's all the buttons, don't push the red ones, good luck, right? You have to sort of build that. And so, the way that I think about it is, if I have a customer and we've come up with a good candidate process, I would probably automate. My first diagram would probably be a traditional process diagram: step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. I wouldn't necessarily implement that, but I would start there. And then I would start drawing circles. What if these things didn't have gateways and events and timers? What if they could sort of coordinate and teleport to the right place based on the right criteria, right? Figure out what that is, and then take one piece of it, decompose that. Just like if you're teaching someone, I don't know, carpentry, you would teach them, well, this is how you stain the wood, right? Or this is how you measure twice and you cut straight. Once they get that fundamental skill, then you build on top of it, and you build on top of it, and you build on top of it. Because it's not always about what we can do. This is all we do. We're professionals. We have decades of experience, right? It's about what they can do, because they have to be able to build and maintain these systems after we leave their house, right? So I guess, Tis, I want to invite you to contradict me if you disagree, or give an argument, or double click if you agree with that.
I'm afraid I do agree. So there's not much in this one. It makes total sense to pick out that, because we were just talking about value, and that those places in the process that you circle. Mm-hmm. Those are probably the ones where the value is, and especially if you see these complicated patterns that are trying to capture all of the possible cases that could occur.
Right.
So just by deterministically routing all of that through the process. Or there's this one user task where all the magic happens. This is where somebody aggregates all of the data, thinks really hard about it, has all of this internalized logic that they apply to a case, and then there's red, green, or blue that comes out of that. That decision, that's where the agent can step in and replace that part of the of the logic that's either in the process or hidden behind that task where everything happens. That's where you apply this kind of technology to help you out and do that for you.
Yeah, I mean, I just threw something on the screen because I think this is a good example. Like, this is our internal sales process for Capital BPM, right? So, we identify a prospect, opportunity, we do a deal review board, we make a sale, and then sales hands it off to delivery. But I guess what I'm talking about, and goes along with this, is what if we were able to take this stuff right here, right? And instead of having lines that go back and forth and putting in gateways, and what if the prospect doesn't respond to us fast enough, and what if we don't pass the DRB and we have to go back and renegotiate? What if we start doing things like this, and then we start taking you start taking this stuff out, and then you let an agent decide.
And what if it's exactly the question there, the question form, because what if something else happens than the things that we already thought of?
Right.
What if one particular case comes in through a different channel somehow, and we have to respond differently than we normally would?
Exactly.
Either deal with it or you can't. With the deterministic process, you can't in most cases. You have to build something.
Right.
But with maybe you might be able to sidestep that and still go through the essentials, still have the guardrails of what actually needs to happen before you can start on the delivery. No.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's sort of the right idea, this sort of evolution. I kind of wish we were disagreeing. I want to fight. But but no, I completely agree with you. I agree with you. Maria, one of the things that I sort of keep coming back to, and this is a place I think you have a lot of experience, is how do we how do we help our customers understand the potential for agentic without overwhelming them with sort of um, lots of new terms and technologies, and making sure that it's something that I think of it as a gift, right? How do you bring a gift to someone's house and make sure it fits in their culture and their decor and their color scheme, right? How do you normally help customers sort of make sure that they're taking enough of a bite of agentic, but not so much that it's overwhelming and it's a radical change to everything?
Yeah, a lot of processes, so I can say maybe mostly processes have repeated tasks. And in this case, we absolutely can give this to agents, right? So and only so to create more trust for business users and show that the AI agent works as we created. So we can add to our workflow user task, and if AI agents have some uncertainty or have some uncertainty or misunderstanding of the situation, so the flow can get to the people, and the people, the user can manage this situation, can manage this task, can manage this case. But I can say that mostly more than 17% of use cases so AI agents resolved as well. Yeah.
No, I love that because you talk about repeating tasks, and that's like such an obvious place for an agentic agent. Like, determine when can we repeat this? When can we avoid repetition? Because the problem is so simple that the AI can solve it, right? That's an intuitively clear things where you can kind of, yeah, agentic could make a lot of sense here, right? So kind of speaking their language, making sure that it makes sense. And then once they have that, then they go to the next one and the next one. It always reminds me of learning a new language. You guys, well, clearly have learned, at least English, right? As you're learning a language. And I remember, to me, learning a new language was initially incredibly overwhelming, right? The sounds, the alphabet, the idiom, the inside jokes, the cultural references, like it's so incredibly overwhelming. But if you start small and you keep at it, within 6 months, you're speaking a new language, right? And I think it's that. I think it's helping our customers just have a steady, trustable discipline around how to think in this new language of agentic when they're orchestrating their processes. And I think that's kind of cool. I think that's kind of fun.
Isn't that even an argument for start small, think big?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
new language, do you start with legal jargon, possibly,
Right.
or something really specific? In most cases, no. You don't start with literature of that language. You start with little sentences, hello, ordering something somewhere, these simple things that you can start with. Very, very similar in that regard. And you take on more complicated things, more complex ones as you go along. And as you get an appetite for, okay, I feel confident doing this.
Yeah.
Let me stab at that.
Absolutely. That's such a great insight. Start small, think big. It makes me think, like, when I was learning, I would start like talking about things that I care about, like science fiction or chess, whatever it is that is motivational to you. And then from there, the rest of it kind of comes to you by gestalt.
But so sorry. Additionally, I can say when you have some clear instructions where you can start, where you can finalize,
Yeah.
and which you should do next item, who will be responsible, etc. So overall, the whole picture is clearly and very beautiful. So, for example, I painted last time a picture of Van Gogh. Painting by numbers, right? And maybe it's professional issues, I don't know. But when I created this picture, I thought about Camunda, because when you have so very clear instructions, which color you can use, vagrants of this picture, and step by step, starting with small these instructions, so you create overall great picture. So this is Van Gogh, right? Yeah. And I thought about it that when we create the process, starting with small tasks for users, small tasks for, I don't know, for some applications, for everywhere, end-to-end processes. So overall, we see this great picture of our business, right? And we see and analyze where we have some problems, where we can optimize, where we grade. So it's really, really very clear picture of overall.
I love that. That is a great analogy. We should do an episode a little bit where we talk about our personal interests and how they overlay into our professional perspectives. I think that's really fascinating. We should do that next time. I want to switch a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about when Camunda 8 is the right choice, and when it's not, right? I think that, we talked about this briefly. You can say, hey, like a Toyota Tacoma or a Lexus is a great car, right? It's fantastic. But it's not always time to buy a new car. You can't always afford a new car, right? It's just because something's a great deal doesn't mean it's something that you should do every single time. How do customers know when and if they need Camunda 8? How do they know that agentic orchestration is something that makes sense for them, is a reasonable investment from their time and their money and their intellectual capital? And when they don't need that, and they should focus their energies on other parts of the business. Of course, I have an opinion. I always have an opinion. But Maria, what do you think?
So it's really great question. So we see right now on the market a lot of customers who are looking for the better solution after Camunda 7. And to be honest, we explain them that Camunda 8, it's not just Camunda 7 but updated, right? It's absolutely another product. It's fundamentally another product, even driven product, cloud native architecture. So designed for scale and resilience, better alignment with microservices environment, so more future-proof for AI orchestration. But it depends, of course, of the decision of the customer, because some of them looking for some easy way how they can stay on this moment, on this level where they right now. But I also think about it, and for me it's also very important to understand what for our customer, what resonates them to migrate to Camunda 8. It's future readiness, scalability, AI enablement, on something like that, because it depends on their decision. It's their decision to migrate to the new future or stay in reality, or stay on real step right now. Don't move in.
Tis, what do you think?
it's one of those cases where I'd say I'll know it when I see it. And in most cases, when I see the questions that are there, I think, yeah, this is a good fit. This ticks all of the boxes. Typically, those aren't, let's say, extremely low volume cases. So Camunda 8 comes with some complexity. That's just a fact, especially for operations. So that has to be worth it to put in the effort to manage that complexity. If you need some of the features that it brings you, or you may need them in the future.
Yeah.
You're thinking about the possibilities like the ones we were just talking about with Agentic, and you know that there's something to be gained there, then quickly this becomes a realistic possibility. And then you also, it's much more viable to let's say validate that investment.
Yeah.
It's like buying a power tool. Does everybody need the power tool? Probably not.
Right.
Maybe they just need a screwdriver. And yes, there's a screwdriver included. And if you need to drive in a screw, you could use that part of the stack. But if you need some of the other tools, and if you're thinking about breaking down a really big wall or building something that needs to hold a truck up, well, then you might need to think about the different tools. It's hard for me to pinpoint it's this one thing, because it's typically not one thing that is the one feature that makes it the best choice for everybody. It's typically a blend of things that you need or may need in the future.
Yeah, I keep wanting to disagree with you, and I cannot find a place where we disagree.
I'll have a hard think on it for next time then.
Okay. I agree with you. If you have a machine that is working, you have a process that's working. I have one customer that uses Camunda to like route calls for services, right? Like, does this go to sales or installation or engineering or whatever? They don't get a lot of traffic on it, right? It's working good enough. It's, got 97%, sort of efficiency. And they're not going to invest in it in the future, right? There's no reason to change that. You don't need to go and make, financial changes and infrastructure changes in order to make that happen. I would say, like a car, if you've got a good, reliable used car, if you don't see changes coming down the road, don't change it. Drive it into the ground, all right? I mean, you've got other places where you can invest in your business and do the right thing. And I actually think that like Jakob, Daniel, all the guys from Camunda would agree with you. Like, I think they would say Camunda serves a purpose, but it doesn't serve every purpose all the time for everyone, right? Throughout eternity. I think the places where it serves a purpose is, do I want to realize, the potential of agentic orchestration? Do I want to, automate something? Do I want to do document processing? Do I want to be able to, surface more data or scale faster and more? And the answer to that is not always yes, right? The answer to that is sometimes no. This is a good enough thing, right? I have a refrigerator in my house. We've had it for 9 years. It's a good enough refrigerator. I'm not going to change it, right? I might invest in a swimming pool, right? Like that sounds like a good thing to do, but I'm not going to go change something just because, it's, there's a fancy one on the market. I am going to change something when I need something new. And I think that's the really hard question. And I think it's the one Maria touched on as well, like understanding where you are and understanding where you want to go, and then making an empirical, unemotional, engineering-based judgment about the value and the cost. The nuance, and I think Maria added this beautifully, was, does the value take into account sunk cost, opportunity cost, the things that you're paying just to keep this older machine running? So going back to the car analogy, if you have an old car, and you have to spend $700 a month just to keep it running, maybe you should think about a new one, right? So that's my take on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then
maybe it depends on the company maturity. I don't know, because so I see some enterprises thinking about the future, so thinking about where they want to be, so five years later or 10 years later, and analyze the trends around them, trends in the so everywhere. But sometimes I see that our customer, they so used to have they have, and they don't want to change something. It's really very bad situation, and but sometimes it happens.
Now, what if you realize that you have this really reliable used car, but everybody by now is going by flying cars, and you're not going to be able to find a mechanic for this car anymore when it breaks down. And this is the kind of situation that a lot of customers have already been in with maybe other technology, that at some point you're going to be forced to make a move like this, and it may not be to Camunda 8, but to anything similar. At some point you might realize, well, this is no longer going to hold up for the future, so now we have to start thinking about it. Or we realize that we don't need one car, but we actually could use 10 cars. We hadn't thought about that use case before, but we've been running that on some other software with some other vehicle to get things done up till now. But now we're thinking about, we actually do 10 million of those a month. Why haven't we thought about that this is actually a process as well? And now we're talking about a different scenario that might be the, let's say, the initiative that enables you to get onto a platform like this, and then maybe bring something over that you have no reason to change at that point, but you could as easily support on the same platform as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Making sure you're not excluding the art of the possible. The other thing that I'll say is I'm seeing like little branches and variations of Camunda 7 spring up. This company and that vendor will like have their own sort of thing, and they'll brand it. And the one thing I would say is that if you're going to go with like an open source version of Camunda, I'd just stick with Camunda 7, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to paint yourself into a corner by going with a boutique version of Camunda that's been branched by a vendor, where then you become deeply invested in that, and then 5 years from now the vendor goes pay up, right? You want to if your point is not to have vendor lock, then don't do that, right? I mean, either go with like the marquee brand, right? Or go completely open source, because otherwise you're setting yourself up for being in a position where you're going to be at the mercy of a vendor. It's just going to be a really small vendor, and you're not going to have a lot of leverage because they don't have a lot of leverage. And I think that is a dangerous problem. That's a situation where you're not solving your problem, you're moving your problem, right? And you're moving it to potentially a bad neighborhood.
Yeah, when we start the conversation regarding the migration, so we start the conversation about, first of all, about the future of the companies. Yeah, and business representatives should have their decision where they want to be in the future. Yeah, they want to be a loser or they want to be the first, the top.
All right. Hey guys, thank you very much. This is a lot of fun talking to you. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in Amsterdam. I keep talking about us doing like a Camunda Champions drinking thing, and I've not been good about that, but I do think in Amsterdam we have to do it, and we should invite people who want to join us. So if you're interested in meeting some of the Camunda champions and drinking with us and eating with us at CamundaCon in Amsterdam, which is May 19th, is that right?
19 May, yeah.
Or learning some Dutch, by the way. I can help with that.
I know. That's kind of-
Great
Small
team.
sentences, everyday things, yeah.
So I would say comment on this video, reach out to us, and we'll make it happen. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.